The Rural Ministry Task Group was set up in response to the changing economic issues that were really challenging the Mallee Presbytery in particular back in the beginning of the 80s. But there was already a feel about the need to support and identify the issues and provide resources for rural ministry around the time of union. It provides a network not only with the rural congregations but to presbyteries and to synod. And I suspect in some ways that's been lost a little bit, and we're in the process of actually rebuilding those links so that there's a network woven right across the synod of Vic-Tas. The value that people find in that, I think, is grounded in the stories they're able to share with one another in terms of what's happening in their own patch. Sometimes there's shared stories that resonate with one another. At other times they might be stories that trigger an idea or a response that they might be able to take back and use within their own congregations. But I was asked to take on this role because I'm passionate about rural ministry. I see the role of the task group to make these resources available by informing the representatives on the task group who then take the information back to their presbyteries. I draw the greatest hope from knowing that whatever's happening around us or within us, be we individuals who are faithful to God, be we the rural church who's struggling with half a dozen people, or a church in an urban centre, our hope is always grounded in the sense that God continues to work within and through and around us.
Rural congregations, the rural setting, the 7 different churches, is quite different from the one big church I was part of before. At the big church there was an office staff. You would give them a scribbled note, this is the order of service for Sunday, and they would produce X number, many copies. And there'd be a choir that would do the anthem. There'd be a lot of other people involved. In some ways it's limiting, but in other ways it's very freeing. To have a small congregation can be delightful. If you've got a point to make in a sermon and someone decides they'll join in and put in their threepence worth, it can start a great conversation. So you're talking about faith things at a fairly intimate level, really. I can't do them all at once. I have not tried to take 7 services in one day, but there are ways of providing ministry in these places that relies quite heavily on the local people.
Some of the really good things about preparing and taking our own services is the fact that we've met together monthly, usually at someone's home or at the church, and we've planned the service. During that time we've developed a better knowledge of the resources we can use, as well as greater confidence in our ability to do various parts of the service. We don't all take the same role, we alternate the roles, and there's been a real growth among people in the group because of that ownership of the service.
I looked at some old photos and remembered the delight of confirming 3 sisters, teenage girls, at a dawn vigil on Easter morning. And we ended up at their place, quarter of an hour from the church, in a big farmhouse, kitchen, dining room actually, for a huge breakfast. It was a real celebration for a church which is tiny, where there's no town, to have the church almost full at 6 o'clock in the morning. That was pretty special. The whole region has been hit by the drought. Last drought it wasn't quite as obvious around here, but this time it is really hurting. For a town where nothing really happens to bring the community together, because they normally go to 3 different centres for their shopping and things like that, this is one time the whole community will come together. We're here now and it's precious, and we do what we can. Our job is not to maintain anything in particular, but to be faithful as God's church in this place now.